there's this duck and my daughter's right beside the duck, and out of the corner of my eye, basically it seems like she just spat in the duck's face. And my wife and I were both like, did you just spit on a duck? And she was like, no, I thought that maybe you would think that it was food and it would come closer to me. And we're like, oh, we can't spit at animals. That's a rule we need to explain.
Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what is Milkless? Because I think we start with a name.
Two dads, we love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take. This episode of Milkless is going to be built around an article written by a therapist who's kind of outlining some of the common pitfalls that parents make that end up being a little bit hard on their kids. We're not doing this to freak people out. These are all things that probably all of us have done at one point or another, but it seemed like a decent list to go through, see where we're falling short, see where we can do better, provide some structure for us. Here we go.
All right, Matt, today we're going to do something a little bit interesting. In doing the research for one of our previous episodes, I came across this article on CNBC that says a therapist shares the 7 biggest parenting mistakes that destroy kids' mental strength. So I thought we could just go one by one through these 7 things and see if we're doing them and talk about maybe how to not do that.
All right, I do want to give one caveat because we talked in a previous episode about how like headlines of news articles are often meant to scare you. This does have a little bit of the local news vibe of like, destroy your kids' mental health. Like that's pretty aggressive. But so I think we want to use these as interesting guides and talk about how probably we do some of these things. But I just want to. There's a lot of shit out there that's like designed to scare parents about like how bad they're fucking up their kids. And so I don't want to add to that.
100%. Number 1.
It's terrifying.
Here we go. Okay, number 1, minimizing your kids' feelings. Okay, so doing things like, don't be so sad about it. It's not a big deal. It sends a message that their feelings don't matter and it's better to suppress them. I do this all the time. I think because I always expect the kids, because they're so kind of smart, that I forget developmentally that they're not really ready for it. And the amount of times I've said like, why are you crying about this? This is not something to cry about.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard. Like if it's, they have 3 forks and one of them wants the red fork. And then they start crying about not having the red fork.
It's hard to not attack the source of the sadness, isn't it? When it seems that dumb.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I'm constantly doing that.
Yeah, we do some of that too. Particularly if it's, my daughter has entered this weird phase where she's really worried about her hair. And I think it gives both my wife and I this icky feeling of like, what have we done? Like, what have we done to her? Mm-hmm. But the instinct is to be like, it's just your hair. Like, who cares? But that's invalidating the feeling. I mean, I do want her to feel like it's just my hair. Who cares? But like, it matters to them.
Yeah.
It matters. Yeah. Fuck.
The thing is like when we do it right, it's when you empathize with the child and sort of kind of get on their team. So like, oh, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Like I totally agree. I know the feeling of wanting to look.
I know the feeling of not getting the fork I want and sobbing my fucking eyes out.
Yeah, that's something that like I don't know if I mean that is really, really fucking hard when they're in that age where the irrationality is just front and center.
Yeah.
Because then you can like almost like weirdly validate irrational and stupid behavior. For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Being like, I get it. Sometimes you want the red fork and you want to, it's like, no. So something that I've been doing lately based on something you said, and I think in the consequences episode, is establishing the connection again and saying like, you having a hard time.
Yeah.
But let's just hang. You want to hang? Do you need a hug? Because usually it's not about the fork.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to be like, man, I know that feeling when something happens. And I even kind of know it's a small thing, but for whatever reason, it starts to feel like everything. Because I do that. I'll blow things way out of proportion. And as some microcosm event will caused me to catastrophize. I wonder if there's a way to empathize in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I get it. I wanted the red fork, but like, gosh, I get it. Sometimes like it just feels unfair, and it feels like the people around you get the thing you want.
Yeah.
Cause like that is a real feeling. And usually like whatever the specific thing is the reason it is a big deal is because it is representative of something. It's like in a marriage, you fight about stupid shit. And it's like, why are we fucking fighting about who's going to unpack this bag? And it's like, well, really what we're arguing about is like the way we feel like labor is divided in our marriage or whatever it is.
Right.
And if you look at the thing, yes, it's stupid. But if you look at the emotion, no, it's not. It probably comes from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to get better at that, man. I don't always do that. So good.
2, always saving them from failure. I feel like for the most part, I'm decent at this, but so many times I'll get in the way if like they're getting frustrated on something, and maybe kind of like, let me just do it for you, bud. You know, a lot of times it's not really having the time to go through that mind numbing process of letting them,
or not wanting to clean up whatever the fucking thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife is really good at this, just like letting kids figure it out. And I think that that's made me better at it. There is like, it's not an either or, because there are times when I will watch my daughter try. And if I wait too long, there's the moment of like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes I feel like I can head that off by being like, can I show you one thing? Just like one thing that I think will make this easier.
But then also letting them get to that source of frustration and then allowing them to deal with it, because that's part of life.
Yeah.
Is getting frustrated and then understanding how to navigate through that frustration.
Yeah.
As you grow up, if you don't know how to fail or work through things, I mean, there was a study, parents who are kind of overly controlling and doing things for their kids, and then other parents that believed more in an autonomous situation for their child. They did a test where the kid needed to figure something out. The kid who had the controlling parent like was just gave up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to do this. The other kid tried to figure it out.
There's a combination of like dealing with adversity and it not working until it does. There's that, and there's the learning that happens by figuring it out for yourself. I mean, there's some stuff that can be taught in a classroom, but you mostly learn stuff better just by like getting in over your head and figuring it out.
Yeah, 100%. There's also a study about effort versus outcomes. So if you praise efforts, it's way better than praising outcomes.
Yeah.
They did this study where they had half the kids, they told them that they were really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And they told the other kids that they're the hardest working kids that they've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the test again and they made it harder. The smart kids just kind of gave up. They're like, nah, this is too hard for me. And the effort kids did better.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was weird is then they needed to self-report their scores to another group of kids.
Whoa.
The smart kids lied like 4 times higher than the effort kids. The effort kids were pretty much truthful.
Interesting.
Because they didn't care about outcomes. It's not about the grade. It's about, giving it your all and trying. And
well, yeah, I've also heard it framed as this distinction between self-esteem and self-worth. Mm-hmm. We're so fixated on self-esteem that we just walk around telling kids that like, you're amazing. And we think our kids are amazing. Like I do that, but self-esteem is just like, you are so great. And self-worth is much more tied to like, man, you worked really hard on that.
Yeah.
Like self-worth is something that they actually have volition over. You're smart or you're whatever. They don't have any role in that. That's just telling them you are this way. Whereas like you worked really hard on that is praising something that they had agency over that was their effort. And it's a pretty big difference.
I'm going to do a quick jump around, jumping up to 4, expecting perfection, because it works right in with this one. Always saving them for failure, is that I accidentally probably was more of an outcomes type dad with our first child. Was really maybe about praising perfection, how smart our kid is, how smart you are. Wow, you're so amazing. You're so smart. You're doing all this great stuff. That he maybe had a bit of a complex, our oldest son, about like messing up. Really did not like failing.
Yeah.
Was really into, and I think this is also kind of a first child trope.
The type A, the higher anxiety.
Yeah. High achieving, high anxiety,
yeah.
Not really liking failure. And something that has worked with him lately was kind of saying, look, how do you think so-and-so got this good? How do you think Michael Jordan got that good? How do you think Messi got that good? It's basically how many times can you fail? Mm-hmm. What if I told you in order to be good at this, you had to fail 10,000 times
Mm-hmm.
because your brain learns and it calibrates, and failing is awesome.
Yeah.
Failing is part of getting better.
Yeah.
And so I think working that in somehow.
Well, and acknowledging your own imperfections in front of them. And when you mess something up, whether that's in your relationship with them or just like you mess something up, be like, I screwed this up. See, like everybody, man, there's this video that's like one of my favorite videos I ever took of my daughter. She's like 3 and she's smacking gum and reading something. She's not reading, she's making it up, but she's pretending that she's reading from this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just gibberish. A lot of it is just like random words. But there's this moment where she says, and sometimes we make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, and that's okay because we love each other's indeed. And we say that shit at our house all the time.
That's great.
She followed that immediately with because we love each other's indeed. And then the end of the letter, which she was reading it like a letter, she goes, Hans, Franz, Dans, and Grands, and I'm sorry to say, but your brother is gone.
What?
And I was like, it's just the weirdest fucking, but in the middle of that gibberish is some real wisdom. We all make mistakes, but it's okay because we love each other's indeed.
Yeah. And I think celebrating those, like, for example, we've taught all of our kids to ski at a pretty young age. And what we would always say is like, falling is fun. You can't ski without falling, because especially at the beginning, it's mostly falling.
Yeah.
So our 2-year-old at the time was like, I ski. I'm really good at skiing. And I fall because falling is skiing. Skiing is falling. So I'm going to fall today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
God, I had a funny conversation with my daughter. We were, it was the first time I let her throw darts because, they're sharp. Yeah. But she got up on a stool. So she was kind of eye high and I put her close to the thing. And she was throwing. And at first she couldn't get him to hit the board. And I did the like, can I just shoot you one thing? She was like, yeah. I was like, put your fingers a little further back. And then she started hitting the board. And I was like, yes, that doesn't happen that often that she'll actually fucking listen. Mm-hmm. But then she hit like the 20. And I was like, oh, 20, that's a good one. And she goes, there are good ones. And I was like, well, yeah, but like you just learned. So anything on the board is a good one. And then she'd be like, 8. Is that a good one? I'll be like, it's on the board and it's so close to these good ones. And finally she was just like, Dad, I want you to tell me if it's a good one or not. And I was like, baby, I will tell you, but I just want you to feel that at this stage, just hitting the board is so good.
Right.
And she's like, okay, I won't get mad if I don't hit a good one, but will you tell me if it's a good one? And then she's like, 9. Is that good? And I was like, no. It's so funny with that stuff because, they learn it from us. My wife is a perfectionist in some ways. I am a perfectionist in different ways. So they pick it up. But yeah, I like the celebration of the failures and identifying the failures is necessities on the way to excellence.
Yeah.
But then she sees me and my wife just, be really hard on ourselves and then she gets some of that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Whoops.
Number 3.
Pew, 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 pew.
Overindulging your kids. So, giving your kids too much stuff, spoiling them. Mm-hmm. And that's something I struggle with kind of overindulging or spoiling the kids is I'm very impatient. Not in the moment. I can be very patient with human beings, but with life events or fun things. Like, for example, if we decide we're going to get a dog or buy a new mountain bike for the kids, I want to get it like now.
Yeah.
But that can, and my wife makes really good points, that can breed like a level of like entitlement that like, oh, the minute you want something, you can just get it that moment.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for waiting.
Yeah.
My wife and I didn't really get anything. I mean, I got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figure when we go to Toys R Us for a special occasion.
Uh-huh.
Outside of that, my wife and I did not get anything other than Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah.
And our birthday. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah. You have those things that you repeat so often that your kids like finish them for you in an annoyed voice.
Yeah.
Whenever we go somewhere that has stuffed animals, my daughter wants one. She just fucking loves them.
Yeah.
And so now she'll be like, oh, but it's so cute. And I say, what does it cost? Money. How do we get money? You have to go work. What happens when I have to go work? We don't get to spend so much time together. I'm like, yep. That's kind of how I'm trying to account for materialism is like you trade your time.
Yeah.
It's a trade for the time with the people you love.
Yeah, that is smart. Although that did give me some memory of when you said on a previous episode how there was something with your knowing that your dad was sacrificing something for you.
I know. Yeah. It's put a lot of pressure on her. Yeah.
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 But I completely agree it's very important to teach your kids how the economy of the world works.
Yeah.
And I think that's really smart. Like letting them know that this is how it works. And if they want to do some sort of manual labor around the house,
Yeah.
get some cash, they can spend it. What's really funny though is when we started doing that, they didn't want to buy anything. They just want to hoard the money.
Yeah.
So one of our sons has over $100 now. He's been saving. I'm like, okay, you want to go buy something? And he's like, he will not spend a dime, which I don't know if that's good or not. But I've started to kind of say, because he's like, how will I ever spend it? Then I won't have any money. I was like, well, maybe when new money comes in, because now you have this nest egg. When new money comes in, you spend a percentage of it. So you just made $5 more. Well, guess what? Go ahead and spend 2 of it. Save 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're just kind of talking about like one way in which you can indulge your kids. I think there's also the like, yeah, you can watch another show or watch another, and I think with all of that stuff, it's about being clear and then sticking to those, not letting yourself get talked out of it or cajoled. And of course, every once in a while you choose to break those rules and blow up bedtime or, yeah, we can watch, we're doing a double feature of movies today because it's raining outside. But knowing that those are kind of deviations from,
right.
You just don't want your kid thinking that like there's no limit on anything.
Right. Or they can whine and get their way.
Yeah.
Or just, it's party mode. I mean, we get into party mode. Like we left for a week and our grandparents watched the kids for a week. And I told them specifically, no rules. Your rule is survival, grandparents. Like when we came back, the kids were healthy and alive, but we had taken some major steps back and it was to be expected. And there was some overindulging happening. It's great. It's fine.
It's fine.
But then you got to get back to your baseline. There's things about like having a routine bedtime. Studies have shown that is very important. Like at the end of the day, I know it sounds so cliche. Kids want or need boundaries.
Yeah. And structure. Yeah.
To feel safe because they have all these big emotions, these big feelings. They don't know kind of what to do with them. And it's comforting to know that someone's in charge here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Somebody's got to be in charge here, even when they give you shit for it.
Right. All right. We can 5, making sure they always feel comfortable. So a lot of times we talked about it in our last episode. The goal of a mammal parent is to protect thy child. So it's natural. We want them to feel comfortable. But I think it's kind of like we maybe sometimes we shelter them too much. It borders on helicopter for trying something new, maybe trying new foods, making new friends, trying a new sport. I don't want to.
Yeah, I kind of, we've talked before about like what you see your role as a father being. And one of the things that I see my role as being is like taking my kids to the edge of their comfort zone, but making them feel safe there because I'm there too.
What's a good example on that?
Like when we were in Ireland, I took my daughter for a hike at night and it was the latest she'd ever been up, but the deer come out at night. And on the way back, I was like, are you glad we did it? She's like, I don't know. It was scary, but it was so cool. And like, it was both because she was scared. We were in the woods by ourselves, dark at night. But I picked her up, put her on my shoulders to make sure she felt safe enough. Then we joked. She's like, but I was scared, but it was cool. And then on the drive home, she's like, yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Or like going on a hike, them being like, it's hard and it's cold. Mm-hmm. And being like, well, you didn't want to wear your jacket and like we're along for you from the car. So like, what are we going to do here? I'll carry you for 2 minutes and then you're back on your feet. Like,
yeah,
you're going to be a little scared sometimes. You're going to be a little cold sometimes. You're going to be a little whatever sometimes.
This reminds me exactly of one of my good Dutch friends, Joost from Amsterdam. He would say, if they're not going to get injured or develop hypothermia, then they have to learn.
Yeah.
Like, don't have that fight. Just let them not wear a coat and then they'll be freezing on the way home. And it's like, it's not neglect. They're actually learning something. And as long as you don't then turn it into a, see, fucking told you so, dude.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think what's tough for me about the comfortable thing is it's a very fine line between being an asshole and teaching them something. Like, for example, you've taught me about getting down to my child's level and trying to relate to them and validating their feelings and kind of saying like, oh, you having a hard time? Do you need a hug? You know, like, what if they're tantruming about some bullshit? You know what I mean? That's where it's like, it's kind of, you got to really unpack that and have a good game plan, because you can get tricked into one way or the other, where you're like, see, I'm just going to make them feel uncomfortable. But then it's like, really, I'm just invalidating their feelings. Or I'm going to like be like, oh, are you okay? Oh, poor baby. And it's like, wait a minute. I'm just like making sure they always feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's interesting. The way that my wife has articulated it is like, how do you let them experience that thing that is, you know, likely the consequence of choices they made, without withdrawing your own connection and love and support?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it is cold. I'm sorry. You're not fixing it for them. You're not removing the discomfort, but you're also not suddenly not giving a shit that they're cold.
Right.
But it's just like, yeah, this is where we're at. What do you want to do? What do you want to do is a great question that you're good at.
Yeah. The question I'd have for you then is, because I don't know the answer here, you definitely don't want to rub their nose in it. Like, let's say you leave the house on a bike and they're like, I do not want a jacket. First of all, do you bring it in your pocket?
Yeah, sometimes.
But then I think you do need to then bring them back to the beginning so they remember, or will they just know that they made that choice? Or do you do a very kind and nice objective, like, yeah, well, you did choose to not have the jacket on, and, you know, and daddy told you it was going to be cold. So this is where we are now. And I'm so sorry that you're cold, buddy. Is that good? Or is that rubbing the nose in it?
I don't know. I mean, probably the truth is that they would make the connection themselves.
Okay.
And maybe the next time you're like, you remember last time you were super cold? But it is, you remember we talked about, I asked you how often you give your kids shit.
Yeah.
I give my kids shit a lot, because to me, it's often like a way to soften whatever it is with comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd be out and I'd be like, yeah, man, that was super dumb when I said you should bring a jacket. What was I thinking? And then she'll be like, Dad. And I'll be like, what? Like, no, I just can't.
Well, I think you have a better banter relationship. Like, I feel like my kids would like, they'd throw them into they'd be like, that's not nice.
That's so rude. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's great. No, I think if you can have that level of banter, that's brilliant. I think I'll get there soon.
Yeah. On my way out the door this morning on the way here, I was like, I love you, baby. Have a great day. She's like, bye, monkey butt. It's just like, sure. Yeah. There you go. Get me.
That's great.
Oh, man. All right. What's next?
Okay. Not setting parent-child boundaries. We kind of hit this one as well. You want your kids to make their own decisions, but they also need to know that you're the boss. This is basically the not doing authoritative parenting and doing more of a permissive parenting.
Yeah, you're not their best friend.
Oftentimes, have you ever found this where you're getting frustrated with your kids, or you're doing a reflection with your partner, you're talking about how the day went, fucking tits up, and you're just like, yeah, we never told them that that's the rule. Huh.
Oh, interesting.
We're just kind of like, can you believe these fucking kids today, man? Oh my God, what are we going to fucking do? And then I'm like, yo, we never like told them that that's the shot.
You don't open your mouth
till you know what the shot is.
So good. Yeah, that is true. There's there are frequently times when it's like, I think you assume that they know, because as an adult, it seems like common sense. But then you come back to it and you're like, oh, no, no.
Right. Especially when you change the scene or setting, where it's like, we're outside, you know, I'm going to make something up. This hasn't actually happened, but like, we're spitting water outside on a hot summer day. And then we come inside and then our 3-year-old spits water all over the dining room table.
Oh man, speaking of spitting, we had a time we were on this bridge and there were fish in the water. Mm-hmm. And if you spit, they would think it was food and come up to the surface. Mm-hmm. And so we were doing that a couple of times, which is not great, maybe because you're kind of tricking the fish, but whatever, they're fucking fish.
Yeah.
And then we go later and there's a bunch of other people around. And out of the corner of my eye, there's this duck. And my daughter's right beside the duck. And out of the corner of my eye, basically, it seems like she just spat in the duck's face. And my wife and I were both like, did you just spit on a duck? And she was like, no, I thought that maybe you would think that it was food and it would come closer to me. And we're like, oh, we can't spit at animals that's a rule we need to explain because that one fucking time with the fish.
Yeah.
God damn it. Yeah.
What's the shot here? What are the rules?
Yeah.
When we don't have them, especially with like kind of intelligent, awesome kids, you're like, you get into you should know better.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
What's that even mean? They just flash into existence like a few thousand days ago.
Yeah, they don't know better. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point because I do pay attention a lot to making sure that if this is the rule, then that's what we stick to. Because if you don't do that, you're setting yourself up to be in a 24/7 negotiation for the entire rest of your time with your child.
Yeah.
But I don't think I do a good enough job of like always thinking about like, okay, are all the rules clear?
Right.
Does my daughter know what's actually expected of her? The key is consistency and communication. It's like you make sure they know and then you stick to it.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one, number 7, not taking care of yourself. Whew. This is a tough one. I'll read the little blurb from the article. The older we get, the harder it becomes to maintain healthy habits, eating healthy, exercising, taking time to restore. But it's critical to practice these healthy coping skills in front of your kids. For example, if you're stressed out at work, consider telling them, I had a tired day at work. I'm going to go relax with tea and a book, as opposed to them watching you rage at them or watching you crank 100 beers or watching you stuff your face and eat 3 bags of Doritos. We're always modeling behavior. So stress and anger and whatever is our normal feelings that humans feel. How we handle those feelings is interesting.
Yeah, I think I could do a lot better job of doing it in front of my kids. I think that I have trouble, especially on like weeks when I'm working and I'm gone a lot. I feel like when I'm with them, it has got to be about them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times when it'd be nice if I could just occupy the same space as them, but taking care of myself a little more. And I think particularly I'm good at taking care of myself in ways where it's like, I can go get exercise. I know that being outside is good. So I get myself outside. I'm not very good at helping myself feel calm and relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And neither is my daughter. And I think my wife will like do yoga with them in the room and like put music on. And so I'm hoping we both need to learn a little bit of that from her. And I think I need to do better finding ways to be calm, to help myself be calm and to be around my daughter while I'm doing that and have it be okay that what we're doing is not like an activity for her.
Yeah. So one, there's the modeling behavior that we need to do so they learn how to cope through the world. But I think the other thing is just what we do when they go to bed, like our episode on revenge sleep procrastination and just like taking care of ourselves. I mean, there's the line from when you're on an airplane and they're like, please put the mask on yourself first to get oxygen to your own body before you help others.
Do you always like whenever they say that, I'm like, fuck that noise. I'm putting it on my kid. I'll die.
Yeah, hold my breath. Yeah.
Hold my breath. Yeah.
But it makes sense. Like you have to take care of yourself. I mean, how many times do you fall in the thing of somewhat martyrdom?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like work, sleep, being a good parent, pick 2.
Yeah.
You know,
and then add exercise, but still only pick 2. There's a stand-up comic that I saw that he was like, whenever I see a dad with like really jacked arms, I'm like, those arms have not been holding his child enough. He's like, I just judge them for being in too good a shape.
Right. But with that said, like there's so much time. I mean, how much time do we spend, staying up after the kids go to bed, watching something, wake up assed out? Like that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. I think it's like, I mean, look, there are realities to how limited your time is. You cannot take as good a care of yourself when you have 3 young kids as when you have 0. You can't. But I think you can identify those things that are big priorities.
But here's the thing. You're doing that thing that you did before about, you can't be the best movie director you can be if you have kids because you just can't, right? But how healthy were we before we had kids? I was eating like shit before I had kids. I was, eating cheeseburgers and whatever. It's like we weren't at the top of our game. If we were at the top of our game, we were like eating like Olympians, whatever, then of course, more time in the day gets devoted to the kids. But it's what Bez said, sleep, baby, come on. That's the low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit.
It's like the sleep is, and here's the things that's so sick. I know these things. Go to sleep early, eat healthy. These things are so easy. And I know every time I do them, it's like a running joke with my wife because she's like quite normal and healthy. And I'm like, oh, babe, you're never going to believe this. Like, I've eaten good for the last 2 days and been getting like 9.5 hours of sleep. I feel amazing. She's like, yeah, I fucking know, dude. Like, I'm like, babe, you should try it. She's like, shut the fuck
I think
up.
I've invented healthy living. It's amazing. Yeah.
But it's so weird why it feels like work, even though it's actually easier. I think it could be like,
It's like this short-term gratification versus long-term cost. I mean, that's why like America pays so much in credit card fees.
yeah.
And rather pay more later than some now. It's not logical, but it's humans aren't good at long-term planning. I think it's funny, you know, so often you'll say like the key is have a plan, and I'll say like the key is have your shit together. And they're both true.
Yeah.
You need to know what you're aiming at, but then also like we're humans, and knowing what you're aiming at is not the whole battle. You still gotta like.
But the thing is, I'm intentionally not making a plan to get myself like super healthy. Like, for example, after that episode on revenge sleep procrastination, we said we were going to check in 3 episodes later. That's probably around now. I was like, yeah, babe, I'm going to go to sleep with you tonight. She's like, oh, really? and I did it that night. And I woke up and I was like, babe, you're never going to believe it. I feel amazing. And I'm like, well rested. You should try it.
What'd you do the next night?
I did it like kind of the next night. And then the next night I did it. So I did like 3 nights in a row. But then it was like a Saturday. She went to bed at 9:30. I'm like, Saturday, weekend, baby.
Yeah.
And I found a show or something that was like open-ended. I knew what I was doing. I know that I'm not going to be able to turn off after 1.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well,
Like that.
yeah.
That's the equivalent of like calling the heroin dealer.
Yeah, I guess it's like that's where I get back to like you had your plan to go to bed with your wife, but there was some other.
But it was a fake plan, because a real plan would have been like I'd get out a calendar, I'd write down this, I start logging it in some sort of stupid app that tracks my sleep. Like I didn't actually commit. It's like when people go to rehab, it's like if they get forced to go to rehab, they're not. Like when you sprung that on me, you're like, yeah, let's try it. I was like, uh-huh.
Yeah, so was I. Even as I was saying it, there was another part of myself that was like, you need to shut the fuck up right now.
Have you been going to sleep at a reasonable hour?
I've been.
You texted me last night at like 1:30. So
yeah, last night was not good. I've done a little better in general, but last night I didn't do great. I'm trying to do a little better about at least like structuring my evenings a little bit, so it's not just a free for all. But I'm still not going to bed as early as I should. I'm not doing that great, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah. So what was number 7? Take care of yourself.
Not taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I think that like the main thing that I just always try to remember about this is like, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. Do it for your kids. You want to be a good dad? Go to sleep.
Right. Because what's weird is what if you saw your kids doing what you're doing?
Yeah. I'd be like, go to sleep.
Bleary-eyed, doing something mindless on the internet or on the TV.
Yeah. You would
I'd be like, feel bad for the kid.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. What are you doing? Go to bed.
Yeah.
It's that same shit we always talk about, like not being able to step outside yourself. In third person, I'd be the best advisor to myself.
Yeah.
But I've developed these, neural pathways, these synapses that like to fire, that like convince myself like I need this.
I should go get those pretzels.
Do we have those hummus cups anymore?
Yeah.
I could steal one of the kids' hummus cups, pretzels and
Love those
hummus.
hummus cups.
That's pretty healthy too. I actually need some protein.
We have 9 hummus cups. I could probably take one of those without my wife even noticing it's gone. Not
Yeah.
that she would care, but she's how I externalize my own guilt after having taken it. So if I can secretly do it, then it's like it never happened.
And then I'll just stuff the wrappers really deep down into the trash.
Underneath even the shittiest artwork of my kids.
Yeah. Just going to get that trash deep down there.
Yeah. So yes, we should all take better care of ourselves. I remember this is going to start weird, but it stuck with me in college. I went to see this woman who was a Buddhist monk who had spent most of her life in sub-Saharan Africa working with people who had AIDS.
Okay.
She was a real asshole. And she was amazing. And I remember at the end, I got to ask her a question, and I said, how do you ever stop? Because the need is so great, and like you're doing so much more than all of the rest of us, but how do you ever she just said, you have to treat yourself with the same level of compassion that you treat other people. And if you don't, it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
And that always stuck with me. I don't know why that's so hard.
Yeah.
But it is.
I know you always say like having a plan, like you need more than that, but I really do think it's like the first step and maybe it just takes time. I think the fact that when we talk about this shit on this podcast, I think about it throughout the day and like tonight and tomorrow. So I don't know what step 2 is. We can worry about that in season 2, but, but just the fact that we're acknowledging this, like, okay, I like that thought, like the compassion for yourself, because yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
Like just the self-sabotage with the sleep, especially, and the food.
And then I think denying yourself things. I remember this show that I directed for, like, we did like 6 seasons of it. The 5th and 6th season got nominated for Emmys. And I had the option to go to LA and go to the ceremony and everything. And I was like, I don't know, I'm already been gone. Like, it feels. And I remember my wife had to be like, go to the awards ceremony. Like, what are you doing? And when she said that, I was just like, oh, fuck. Yeah. What a weird thing to be having an internal debate about. Like, that might never happen again. And so I think that's where I think about, like, have the same level of compassion for yourself. Your kids don't need parents who are martyrs. You're going to have to give up some stuff. That's just the nature of time and the number of hours in the day. But you got to have pieces of yourself that are for you, and your kids need to see that.
Well, one thing I thought about when we just left the kids for a week, and I was just like, oh, I started stressing. Like, we can't leave the kids for that long. We'd only left the kids for one night before. What really helped me is, again, stepping outside your own shit for a minute. I weirdly pictured our kids as adults, as like 25, 30-year-olds, and asking them what we should do.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them were like, dude, go. What the fuck? Go. It's 1 week, guys. Or, Matt, it's the Emmys.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then you come back, you're a better parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, which comes back to the, like, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for them, because they don't need a martyr for a parent.
Right.
All right.
Cool.
Well, that's all 7, right?
Yeah, it's good. This was Tracy Hutchinson, PhD, LMHC, is a therapist with over 18 years of clinical experience. She's a regular columnist for Psychology Today.
And she just named 7 things, all of which I have done at least sometimes, which will, quote, destroy your child's mental health.
Yeah. These 7 things that will fucking destroy your child. 6 of them are under your bed.
Yep. Yeah. So, a good guidepost, but not necessarily things that will immediately kill your kid.
It's awareness, man.
It's awareness, baby. Yeah. Which is somewhere between 10% and 90% of the battle.
Yeah.
There's awareness, there's planning, and then there's a third thing. And when we figure that out,
that's season 3. We're saving it.
We're saving for season 3. We're just both gonna show up with like fucking 6 packs and like perfect skin and having slept 11 hours and be like, turns out the third thing is heroin.
Anton Pan. Pretty sign that no one's out fully pretty. It's okay for you to make mistakes sometimes, but if we love each other indeed. I love you, and big as the sky. Hands, don'ts, bands, and lands, and I'm sorry to say your brother's gone. Goodbye. I have to go.